By October 24, 1939, the Second World War had firmly established its global nature. Nazi Germany had occupied Poland, while its pact with the Soviet Union ensured that both powers held sway over vast portions of Eastern Europe. On this day, much of the war's action revolved around naval movements, diplomatic strategies, and preparations for future engagements. Military events, naval operations, and U-boat movements. On October 24th, the war at sea continued to take center stage, particularly in the North Atlantic. The German U-boat campaign had been in full force, threatening Allied shipping lines and supply routes. In response, the British Royal Navy intensified its efforts to protect critical convoys transporting supplies from North America to the United Kingdom. U-boats were continuing their relentless hunt for merchant ships, aiming to cut off Britain's vital supplies in what would later become known as the Battle of the Atlantic. Reports on October 24th indicated that German U-boats had sunk several merchant vessels over the course of the previous days. The increasing losses underscored the deadly effectiveness of Germany's U-boat fleet and raised alarms within the British Admiralty. As a direct consequence, the Royal Navy began stepping up its escort system for convoys, employing destroyers and corvettes to shield merchant ships from the lurking submarines. No significant ground engagements were reported on this day, but the repositioning of forces in both France and Germany pointed toward future military actions. Both sides were preparing for large-scale confrontations along the Western Front, where France and Britain were reinforcing their positions. Diplomatic and geopolitical developments. Germany's influence expands. On the diplomatic front, Nazi Germany was actively extending its influence across Europe, both through force and strategic alliances. One of the most notable developments was the ongoing German efforts to solidify its control over Poland and its annexed territories. German authorities were beginning the process of integrating these territories into the Reich, while also suppressing Polish culture and resistance. Nazi occupation policies were marked by brutality, including the systematic displacement of Polish citizens and the establishment of German administration in major cities. Diplomatically, Hitler's regime was also making inroads with neutral countries in Eastern and Southern Europe. Romania, with its valuable oil reserves, was a key target for German diplomacy, and the German government continued to pressure Romania to align more closely with the Axis powers. These efforts were part of a broader strategy to secure vital resources and secure strategic alliances before launching further offensives in the West. International reactions and media coverage. British newspapers on October 24th, such as The Times and the Daily Telegraph, continued to highlight the challenges posed by the German U-boat campaign. The papers emphasized the urgency of defending the supply routes essential to Britain's war effort. There was a growing sense of public concern about the effectiveness of Britain's naval defenses, but also a recognition of the determination to protect the lifelines of the empire. In the United States, media coverage focused on the broader geopolitical situation in Europe, with increasing attention being paid to the growing German influence in Eastern Europe. While the U.S. remained officially neutral, there was a rising debate about how long the country could maintain its isolationist stance, especially as Germany's aggression seemed to pose a more significant global threat. American newspapers such as the New York Times reported on the escalating naval conflict in the Atlantic, as well as diplomatic efforts to contain the spread of the war. Projections. The impact of October 24th on the future of the war. The events of October 24, 1939, had significant implications for the ongoing conflict. The intensifying Battle of the Atlantic would shape the course of the war, as Germany sought to cut off Britain from vital resources, and the Royal Navy worked to protect its convoys. In the coming months, naval warfare would become increasingly critical, with both sides developing new strategies and technologies to outmaneuver each other on the high seas. Diplomatically, Germany's growing influence in Eastern Europe and its aggressive policies in Poland were setting the stage for further conflict. The integration of occupied territories into the Reich and the suppression of local populations would contribute to long-standing tensions, particularly in Poland and the Baltic States. As the war progressed, the Nazi regime's ambitions for European domination would continue to drive its military and diplomatic strategies.